Hi, friends, and welcome back to Lights On, a Neuromoms Collective podcast, where we're having real life conversations in real time about traumatic brain injury. We're here to support caregivers and survivors of TBIs. I'm Amanda, one of the co-hosts.
And I'm Erin, the other co-host and co-founder of Neuromoms Collective. Amanda, I'm so glad we're here today, but you have a special guest with you.
Yes, we have Kay Benj in the house. I'm so happy to see you today, Kaylee.
Hello.
Kaylee has a special place in my heart. She has been in our family since probably, early elementary. Kaylee is a friend of Mackenzie's, and her parents are good friends of my husband and I's also, and just has a special little history with Mackenzie. And so, Kaylee, I'm so thankful that you've agreed to come on the podcast today and just share your story and a unique perspective of having been part of this story from the beginning.
Yep, I'm happy to be here.
If anybody happens to be listening today for a first time, Mackenzie is Amanda's daughter who suffered a traumatic brain injury in 2016 when she was 17 years old. She was in a car accident, car rolled. She had terrible, terrible injuries, including to her neck and her head. And Kaylee and Mackenzie were best of friends and had to go through, as young people at that point in their life, navigating a healthy body versus a body in recovery and all of the challenges that went along with that.
Yeah, and that brought a lot of unique challenges, but then I feel like it just came out to be such a special time in your lives also. And Kay, I want you to give us just a little synopsis of what was life like in the world of high school before Mackenzie's accident. What was your situation? What was life like? What was the groove? What was going on?
I've known Mackenzie since fourth grade. That's when I first came to Sand Creek. Our life was pretty much just sports and bonfires and hanging out together. We had lots of sleepovers, football games, about as normal as you could imagine. Two high school girls just hanging out. And we had a lot of the same interests, so it was a very easy friendship to start.
And those relationships are so important. I mean, when we think about high school relationships, you survived junior high drama, those relationships are they're sacred, and they're a challenge to kind of maneuver through. So then you had a typical day at school. I don't know what your day looked like. I didn't work that day. I was out shopping all day. We come home. There was a baseball game I remember I went to. And then all of a sudden, in an instant, everything changed. I do remember, I don't know how your dad found out, but your dad called me when we were on the way to the hospital. So what was life like when you found out? Like, what was the first situation, or how did you happen to even hear about it?
Yeah, I was just at home with my family, and I know my dad told me, and he was pretty freaked out. So I felt like it was pretty bad, and I know we went straight to the hospital. And it got to the hospital, there was a lot of people there, a lot of people praying. So I was like, okay, this is not good. So it was really scary. I know my dad had spent time in the hospital with heart issues, but that was when I was very young. I don't remember it. And then, of course, after her accident, he ended up spending a lot of time in the hospital. But it was really my first experience with something serious like that, medically related, when I was 16. So it was a lot on a 16-year-old. I do definitely remember thinking to myself, well, she's going to be fine. Because honestly, I think at that time in my life, there's never really been a moment where someone wasn't fine when they were injured. I'm like, she has to be fine. Like, so the thought of like even death did not cross my mind, because I was like, I couldn't even really go there. So
Yeah, I definitely think our brains protect us. You just saw her earlier at school. Everything was fine. So she's going to be fine. Probably be at school tomorrow.
Right.
So, yes, long night in the hospital. I remember your parents being there, and your dad and I were coaching together at the time. So I was his assistant, but I could still boss him around. So I set him upstairs with Mackenzie's bio dad to keep an eye on him because I wasn't sure he was doing okay. So
Mm-hmm.
your dad was great support for me that night because Trav was in the ER with Sadie.
Yeah.
There were so many high school kids sleeping on the floor, hanging out. I can't even imagine those 17-year-old brains, what they were even thinking or going through.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the other first memories that you have of those days?
Yeah. So the memory of being told and then the hospital waiting is not super vivid for me. I think I was just like, this is
Mm-hmm.
crazy. Like, this can't be anything more than, maybe she needs a surgery, like, fix it up. The most vivid memory I have is when I saw her for the first time, and she
Mm-hmm.
was sedated or in a medically induced coma. She did not look like herself. It was so
Mm-hmm.
jarring. And that memory will be with
Mm-hmm.
me probably for the rest of my life. I was just like, that is not my friend. Like, that is insane. So that, and then I think that memory is so vivid to me because that's when my brain actually did cross the threshold to be like, okay, she could die, you know? This is very scary. Scarier than being in the waiting room, you know what I mean? But
Mm-hmm.
and praying, but it was very jarring. So I think that was a monumental moment in my life. And I mean, everyone goes through that at some point, but at 16, and you are really thinking about like, wow, someone I know, someone I'm close with, someone who's my friend could die, you know? So,
Yeah, it's not a position that you should be in, that any young person should be in. Kaylee, one of the things that we like to talk about on this podcast, even though it can be uncomfortable, but we think it's really healing to people listening, is the parts of it that are the more ugly parts. Like, the beautiful parts are that you got to the hospital and there was this whole community there for Mackenzie and for her family and for her sister who was in the ER as well with Trav. And that's a beautiful part of the story. You're a group of faith-based people. You had a lot of people there praying. That's the beautiful part of the story. But the unpleasant parts of the story are feeling like I don't want to be here, or being distracted by other things in your life, or wishing that you were at your softball game, or those kind of things that are real. When you're in trauma, sometimes one of the things you want to do is run away and not be there. So I wonder if you had experienced that within yourself or witnessed that with any of the other young people that you were with, them not wanting to be there, which is an okay thing to feel in a crisis. But did you feel that at all, or see anybody struggling with wanting to kind of run away from the situation?
I don't really remember other people's reactions very much. I remember feeling really helpless and being like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do in this situation. I don't know how
Mm-hmm.
to comfort anybody. I don't know. Like, these are all obviously the people, Amanda, Trav, like, they're adults. To me, I would go to them for comfort. I don't know how to help anybody. I don't know how to help her. You know what I mean? So I
Mm-hmm.
guess that would be a feeling that I could remember, just being like, this, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to act. I don't know what to say. Like, should I be like a inconsolable mess? You know what I mean? Am I not reacting correctly?
Yeah.
So I definitely remember that and just feeling like I don't know what I'm supposed to do. It's very
Oh,
overwhelming.
I'm so happy
Yeah.
you said that, because I think people often, I've been there in different situations, feel like, what am I supposed to do? How
Mm-hmm.
am I
Mm-hmm.
supposed to grieve
Yeah.
publicly? And especially when you're young, I remember when I was sort of that middle school, high school, early college age, thinking maybe I should be projecting huge emotions so that people know I care, because we're still figuring it out. We're still growing up. And I think that that's really normal, even though it felt yucky to me, but I think it's really normal.
Like, I remember my parents being like, "Are you okay? Like, what can we do for you?" I'm like, "Okay." Like, I think it was just a lot to process at one time. So, yeah, I think that's normal as well.
Yeah, and I remember, Kay, I think you talked about too about when you saw me coming out and my emotions, like it was shocking for you
Yeah.
because you had not seen my response. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. To me, growing up, you were my coach. You were very involved with me and Mackenzie. I knew you very well. You're a very steady person, like, this is what needs to be done. Let's do it. There's no messing around. Like, you need to get your homework done and then you can do this. Yeah, you know what I mean? Very type A. So that was very shocking for me to see. I mean, you were almost like, you were kind of displaying what was going on in my head. Like, what are we going to do? Like, someone needs to tell me what's going on. Like, what should I be doing? And I was like, oh God, if Amanda doesn't know what we're supposed to be doing, I can't. So that was very shocking. And then just there were a lot of adults there that had been very parental figures in my life, including my own parents, and a lot of emotions. I have always struggled with showing my emotions, so it was a lot for me. I was like, okay, everyone's crying. Like, should I be crying? I'm like, guys, but no one's really telling me what's going on. You know what I mean? I'm like, so yeah, it was very shocking to see. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those things that as adults, we see things different because we know different things. And we don't want to scare the children,
Right.
but we still feel what we feel.
Yeah, I think it was one of those moments where you see your adults as parents, as moms, as dads, but it was one of those moments where you're like, oh, like, parents are people. They're human beings. They feel the same emotions as we do. It's something I think everyone learns as they grow up, but that was definitely one of the moments for me that I was like, okay. They are more than just,
they have big feelings too.
Yep. We're all feeling. So yeah.
What a time. So you guys were juniors in high school when this happened?
Yes.
So you get into Mackenzie to see her, and she's in a medically induced coma, and it takes a while for her to start to come around. Did you feel drawn to be with her? Like, as her friend, I want to be in the room to support her, I want to be with her. Or were you quite reasonably sort of afraid and uncomfortable and wanted to be away from her? What was the emotion there in the beginning of, should I go to Mackenzie or I want to stay away? Do you remember that?
Yeah. In the beginning, I feel like when she was first coming around, it was difficult to be around. I know that we were really good friends, but it felt like a family thing. I was like, I don't know if I should be here. As she started coming around and she was talking, then yeah, I did want to be there. Even though it was uncomfortable, I felt like this is the right thing, I want to be around her. And it was also, I mean, I had no idea how long that recovery was going to be. And I would say too, when I saw her, I know people had told me like she had a brain injury, her neck, her spine, but I feel like when I was really just looking at physical injuries, and I was like, we just have to get her through the surgeries, get her back to normal physically. I guess the brain injury didn't really connect with me for probably a long time, probably into my 20s. I would say in the beginning, I felt very nervous. And I was like, I don't even know if they feel like my family, but this feels like a real family thing. So I was like, I don't know if I'm supposed to be here. But as she started recovering, started talking, I was like, yeah, I need to be here.
So, Amanda, okay, this is an opportunity for us as parents and caregivers. What could you have done if you could go back in time? What could you have done to set boundaries and to create invitations for the peers and the friends and the people that you wanted to be there to support Mackenzie so that they knew, like, not here, but definitely here. What do you think that you could have done that other caregivers could do now?
So we had a flood of people at the beginning, a flood. And then the doctor said her brain has to rest. And so we had to put up some boundaries. And that's when Roseanne kind of did a like, hey, we can't have visitors during certain days. When she did get to the rehab floor, we had, I think Roseanne put out like a sign up where people could see who was coming like certain days and people could sign up to come. Kaylee's family kind of had an open, like, you guys are always here. You can come anytime. There were certain people that just had that privilege and it was communicated to them. Kaylee's dad, because again of our relationship and his relationship with Mackenzie, he was actually off on a medical leave and he would drive up and go to therapy with Mackenzie 3 to 4 days a week because I was not able to emotionally. It was too much for me because she was in so much pain. So I felt like we had some pieces in place to protect ourselves from being overwhelmed. And then also we had some of those key people that ran interference. Like I felt like I had Coach Benj coming up and taking part of that for me. I had Roseanne setting up the schedule and being that person that would come. I think having those key people in place, I don't know how much of that was communicated to you, Kaylee, about.
I think I'm talking more like in the beginning. Once she got to the rehab floor, I was, see, I didn't even know about the schedule. Yeah. I was just coming.
So, Kaylee's VIP, a schedule.
I didn't know there was a schedule
here.
Yeah, I mean, she's always in her world, so whether she's there or not,
exactly.
She knows.
So, yeah, so it definitely would have been communicated well to me, for sure.
Yeah. But I think at first, when she was in ICU and they're allowed to have some visitors back and forth, I felt like I was a hostess. Like I would go and bring somebody back and it was like, I was having this out of body. Like I felt like I was hovering over myself, watching myself do this smiley face. And if I could go back, I would say my advice to caregivers would be like, shut it down. Yes, it is important, but is it traumatic that Kaylee saw her best friend laying there thinking that she was going to die? Like, was that really the best choice for me to make? And again, I'm living in my own trauma. Right. Like, what am I doing here? Kaylee's here. Kaylee wants to see Mackenzie. Okay, you can see Mackenzie. I don't know what the best decision really was at that moment, but probably if I could go back, it would be to take care of myself first. Because I didn't do a good job of that at first because I was just like, oh my gosh, I got one kid down here, one kid here, and I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Right.
So you had Roseanne, you had a project manager, and we've talked about this in previous pods, that for medical crisis, TBIs or cancer or any terrible medical crisis, or even post-childbirth, to have a project manager, somebody who can run interference so that you are not, as the parent or as the patient, you're not having to say to somebody, gosh, Bob, I don't think right now, because there are people with the best of intentions that don't understand that, you're in the third circle of relationship with us in our family, and you are important to us and we care about you. But with the very limited amount of bandwidth and time that we have, we actually can't go out that far at this time. And it's super awkward to say you can't be there. So to have somebody who can run interference with confidence and clarity is really important, including to say to Kaylee and the VIP crew, hey, this is your invitation, to make it clear so that you, Amanda, can get some sleep and are not. I remember playing hostess.
Yes.
I remember mostly being good at it and a couple times not being good at it. A couple times just being like, absolutely not. You're not going to be part of this, and not in probably the best way. There were a couple people that wanted to be there, and maybe Kaylee, you saw this within your peer group. There were a couple people that I knew only wanted to be there so that they could say they were there. They didn't want to be there because they really cared about my child. They wanted to be there to say they were part of this trauma. And I was like, I know there's a family friendly podcast, but you can imagine in my head what I was saying. I was like, you weren't there for him when he was well. You weren't kind to him when he was well. And now that
Yeah.
this is a big thing, and because he was military, right? So we're talking about all these military people showing up. And there were people showing up that I was like, oh, it'll be a cold day before you're welcomed into his most private, most vulnerable state.
Yeah.
Let me just go off on that for a minute.
Yeah.
Kaylee, did you see that? I mean, we are off topic, but did you see that did you see your peers at all trying to be part of this thing? And you're like, you don't even sit with us at lunch.
I think social media has a lot to do with that. And people do just like to be a part of things, for sure. I do think it's so interesting, though, you're talking about being a hostess, in that it's so interesting how even in really traumatic situations, I feel like as a woman, the politeness is still there. Your child is in a bed and you're like, but all these people came out like to support me. Like, what do they need? Like, they should, it's so interesting. I feel like we could unpack that for a long time.
Oh, we could.
But
there's trauma.
I feel like also, though, in Mackenzie's case, even if we went to such a small school, even if you weren't her best friend, you played sports with her, hung out with her at the football game. And I feel like even then it's just, well, should I go there? I do know her, so I find a little grace for like my classmates in that scenario. And it was pretty good. I feel like social media wise, it wasn't like people were like taking selfies and stuff. Not that I remember, but I think that's a part of it. Everyone was young but I don't know for sure.
Hi friends, Erin here. We are going to pause at this part of the conversation and we'll have part 2 coming out in just a few days. But we've covered a lot of the early stuff of what's happening right away when teenagers are dealing with an adult level crisis, a crisis that most adults can't handle. We thank Kaylee for being here and being so open to share her experiences with us. So stick around for part 2, and as always, keep those lights on.